Hi, it's Melanie. I am a transitioning lady. I am not all the way transitioned yet. I'm doing content for other people who are thinking about transitioning or are early on in transition or people supporting someone in our situation. Um, there is a lot of good content from people who can be like, hey, this is how you get from beginning point to end point, but I haven't gotten there yet, so I'm not really a good reference for that. Um, this is more like kind of what it may look like, what it may sound like, and kind of what we go through every day, or at least what I go through every day. This is my experience anyway. Obviously, not everyone's is going to be the same. That's going to base on a lot of different variables. And the other thing I'll point out is that I work at a gas station, and so does my wife. We do not make a whole lot of money, and my transition is still happening. Hi, little buddy. We have the first invasion from Mr. Kitty. He's sniffing at my food bag. I think not, little guy. Hi, buddy. So if money is an issue for you, transitioning, at least the HRT anyway, is super cheap. So if hormones alone are what you are trying to achieve, don't let the money stop you. It's actually pretty achievable. So that being said, I guess before I launch into the topic, I just want to say that for the first time, I got gendered appropriately on the phone by someone who didn't know me, which was fantastic. That felt so good. So here's to one small step. And I don't think I go out of my way to, I guess, I probably have a better voice feminization when I'm like handling customers or on the phone with somebody, but for whatever reason, like I'm at home, so I just kind of relax a little bit. And I don't think I probably give it as much as I probably should. Um, I mean, I definitely don't revert to like my old voice or anything like that when I'm at home, but I definitely relax as well. Um, but not to go on too big of a dissertation, to stay on topic and get on topic, I wanted to talk about teaching transgender things, or just, I guess, teaching being transgender in school, and even to kids of a very young age. And I know that, what was it, Matt Walsh, I think is his name, that did Johnny the Walrus, the book, which I'm not going to actually read or anything like that, but I will reference. There are like some activists that are super, super big, Ben Shapiro being one of them, of course. Can't have a conversation like this without mentioning his dumbass. Um, but yeah, I think in general, it's not an unsafe thing to talk about, and I don't think that kids are going to have trouble understanding that. I've talked about it before on the channel, but to give it its like due justice, my wife talked about her experience of being told what a trans person was for the first time when she was a child, and she was homeschooled. Um, so she asked her mom why that person looked different. Um, and her mom basically said, I don't remember the exact quote, but her mom basically said, like, sometimes people are born as one thing, but they feel like the other one. And that was pretty simple. It doesn't require a long winded explanation. There's no, like, speech about hormone therapy or any surgeries happening. None of that matters. The core of what makes someone trans is that they feel different from what they were born as. Their sex that they were born, they do not identify with. They don't live that experience. That's all that makes someone trans. It's really not that complicated. And to get away from the nuance for a child, I think even of 5 or 6 years old, I think it's very simple to say, hey, sometimes people are born as men, and sometimes people are born, or I guess boys and girls, and they don't really feel like that. I think that is such a simple explanation, and especially when kids are given concepts as difficult and abstract and just out there as things like religion. And I'm not trying to shit on religion. I'm really not. I'm just simply pointing out in a factual sense that there's nothing that they can reach and attach to. Like there's no example of God. There's no example of a spirit. And I'm not just talking about Christianity. There are a lot of different religions in the world. And they date back a very long time, predating Christianity and Judaism, and, like the big three that are out there, Islam. I think all of them are due their respect in this conversation. And I usually try and steer clear of politics. Like, I generally disagree with a lot of what goes on. Um, this cycle is pretty bad for trans people, so I probably have a bigger opinion on it, but I still try and kind of steer clear of it where it doesn't involve trans people. Um, this, I think, does, and it's kind of shitty that trans people are a political topic. My cat is wiping her butt. Okay, so my cat has had some diarrhea. She's been a little sick because she eats things she's not supposed to, and she had diarrhea. So I'm like doing this video and I look down out of my I wasn't even looking down. I'm like out of my peripheral. I see my cat doing like the, like when dogs do like the butt scoot. Fucking Mr. Kitty can never stop eating things she's not supposed to as she goes up to it. Fucking god damn it. This cat is so much trouble. I love her. I really do, but she is trouble. So yeah, I think if we're going to be teaching abstract concepts like that, like God and places that don't exist that we can't even accurately describe, right? Like I was raised in church. We can't accurately describe heaven. We can't accurately describe hell. People widely disagree on that, even amongst people that are religious. Flying flaming chariots and shit. Like that's nothing that they see they can attach to. Creation stories. I don't think we're trying to teach, like maybe we teach some evolution and like Big Bang stuff to children. I seem to remember that being more of like a middle school thing. But the point is, those are pretty abstract concepts. There's nothing that we can reach out to and say like, hey, this is like what it's like. So I think in light of that, it's a little bit kind of like we're giving children no credit on what they could understand. They do understand boy, they do understand girl. I don't think it's too far a reach for a child to understand that some people just don't feel that way. And I guess what does that do? It just normalizes people like myself so that I don't have to wait till I'm like 34 and have already attempted suicide and did pretty well. I was one of those, I live with a suture in my arm. Maybe someone doesn't have to go through years of drug abuse and damage their brain and ruin opportunities for themselves. Maybe there's some meaningful friendships that, like, let's say it was different. Maybe there's some trans people that transphobic people who currently are maybe wouldn't be, and there's opportunities for them. I just think that there's a lot that could be done and a lot that could be different. I'm not trying to trans anyone's gender. Like, it's not about that. It's just about normalizing it because it's like kind of a normal experience for me anyway. I guess it's not normal in the sense that most people are not trans, and that's fine. I don't care how many people are or are not trans. It doesn't make a fucking difference to me. But for those of us that are, which if you look at the population on Earth and take, let's just say on the bottom end, let's say less than 1%, we're still looking at hundreds of millions of people. And at least in America, I'm not sure exactly what that number is. I didn't quite do my diligence on this. I'm pretty tired. But I don't think I really need numbers to back how many people are affected by that. And I think I heard Ben Shapiro, and of course it was Ben Shapiro, and Neil deGrasse Tyson talking, and Neil deGrasse Tyson just nailed it. We live in a free country. We live in a free country, and what I'm doing is not affecting anyone. I'm not hurting anyone. It is my freedom to express myself here, or it should be. I should not be litigated against based on just being trans. That is nonsense. That's nonsense. And I'm also not trying to force anything of being trans onto anyone else. I'm just asking for people to treat me and us normally, like they would treat anyone else. And Ben Shapiro didn't have shit to say to that. Like, legitimately didn't have shit to say. What can you say to that? We aren't forcing anything on you, but for whatever reason, you are forcing it on us. And we know the reason. That's fine. Like, do your thing, but don't litigate against us. And in that conversation, Ben was, I guess, pumping pretty hard for like, okay, well, let's look at the science and hash it out. And Neil pushed back immediately, like, hey, like the issue is less about hashing it out. We don't, obviously science is going to do science things, and that's great. But we don't want the politicians to hash it out. When that happens historically, it goes really bad. And he's not wrong. We could look at the 1930s and 40s and get a good example of what that looks like. Science is going to do science things, and the more we embrace that, the better. But when politicians get a hold of that information, it can be really dangerous. And I think in general, that was the crux of the argument that made the most sense to me. And of course, Ben Shapiro had shit to say to it. What can you say to that? I think his response was that Neil should be a libertarian. Like, that makes any difference on anything. Like, that is relevant. No one was talking about what party he was affiliated with. Like, just completely irrelevant. But that conversation being aside, and the point of this is that I think people's lives are not negatively affected by teaching that to children. I think all that happens is there's less people being bullied. Isn't that right, Mr. Kitty? Him's a sweet boy. Him's a sweet little boy. I love him. So I don't want to get like too deep into the weeds on this. And I will say, by the way, Matt Walsh putting out a book that literally like talks about like literal mutilation, taking like a chainsaw to people, to a walrus. Like this, he's and Ben Shapiro claim it's too much for kids to understand, trans people, but they can understand a walrus getting his shit removed violently and graphically on the page. This is a children's book. Like, I just don't, there's a complete double standard there. And I just want to know what the harm is, right? Like, what is the damage by saying that there's trans people? The fear, I guess, is that some of them might identify with that. Like, that's a problem. It just is not a problem. Like, I remember growing up, and I, like, again, looking back at it, it's very easy to say that I was born trans. I don't question that. Very, very easy for me to look back and see that. It's like laughable that I didn't know sooner, especially when people around me were very, very aware and thought that I was just in the closet about it the whole time. And it just would have been nice to be able to live freely this whole time and not have to like change my career and get my life fucked when I get older. But I've experienced so many benefits. Like, throughout all the bullshit that I go through because of being trans, holy shit, am I better off? Like, personally speaking, I am better off. And I'm not, again, not pretending by any stretch of the imagination that there's going to be, like, everyone's going to go trans. That's another thing that I've heard a lot of from people that are anti-trans in school and just anti-trans in general. They will talk about how the, like, trans numbers are rising. And there's a very, very simple answer to that. And I think it was the 1940s, pre-1940s. It was considered the silent era for gay people. And the numbers of gay people were super small. I think it was like 1.5% were identifying as gay or GLBT. And now LGBT numbers are up to like 21% or something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but the point is that it keeps on rising. And that's linked with the amount of acceptance that they get, especially after the 60s and especially after gay and lesbian people were allowed to marry. Of course, we're going to see more people as they are no longer litigated against and called crazy and criminals and have to carry a card that says they're a sexual pervert, and like sodomy laws are now gone. And I'll point out that they really hit the men hard with that one. I mean, I'm not trying to be like super graphic, but I would like for all of those people who voted on that bill, who are males, to honestly take a lie detector test and tell me that they have never hit up their spouse for anything in that area. And lesbians were not really litigated against as hard that way. It's just really weird. All of this shit is weird. And in the DSMV, whatever it is, like the medical book with diagnoses, it had being gay as a disorder. The same way that in the fourth volume, they had trans people as a mental disorder. And it's not anymore. Modern biology human cultural science, like if you look at the history of humans, we have been around forever. We have been around for a very, very long time. And psychologists agree with us as well. The only people that are not on board with this are literally just anti-transers, and we're not doing anything to them. I look a little strange. Okay. Okay. So what? So do burn victims. And if you do think that I have a mental disorder and I'm handicapped, why the fuck are you treating me this way? How the fuck would you treat someone that's like disabled from a war or something, or just born disabled? What fucking difference does it make? Why would you litigate against them and make their life even more difficult than it already is? At least in my case, I'm not disabled. I'm just fucking hated on, and so are other trans people, just for no reason. It's the same arguments they made about gay people, that there's, man and woman, and that we're, a binary species and whatever, and that to not go along with that is to be seen as a mental disorder. There's something wrong with you. And it's just not true. It's just not true. It's very silly to push back against in my mind, so I'm probably coming to the conclusion. I just think that overall, I think that more people benefit from teaching trans people just existing. We don't have to go into like a big fucking thing. And by the way, there's no children. I'll go on a deeper video about this another time with more stats, but there are not like the number of children that are getting surgeries is so small, and they are very unique special cases. Most of the like trans affirmation that children get is like a name change. They might get like a haircut or a hairstyle. They might get some new clothes or maybe some jewelry, right? Like a new pair of glasses that makes them feel more affirmed. They're not putting fucking 13-year-olds on HRT. At the most, they're going to give them hormone stoppers, like blockers. Like it basically just prolongs puberty so that they have a chance to figure that out and make the right decision. They may find out at 18 or 19 that they don't feel that way, or 16 that they don't feel that way. In the meantime, they can go through therapy. They can talk to people who specialize in that and not be rushed into anything. They can actually make the choice that's best for them and be in an environment where they're kind of like not hated on for that. They're not ostracized. As far as sports goes, I don't fucking care. Who cares where the ball goes and who wins? We just as a society care a little bit about sports. Some people do. So it's like this big deal. But that's a whole nother issue in and of itself. And I will gladly let the doctors decide that. I think there is some information already, and I see where this video is going. This is about education in school. And I definitely think that at the middle and high school level, there should be probably a little bit more gone into. We go a lot into human anatomy. Not a lot, but we spend a good, I think I spent 4 months doing it in school, maybe 5, something like that, of taking health. And I failed that class, so I had to take it like twice or 3 times. I don't remember. I was a bad student, but yeah, we go pretty deep into that and what each one will kind of experience in different safety things. So I don't see why trans people are left out. I see why they were left out for a while, because they were not allowed to exist. Like, we weren't allowed to be here. And it's still difficult for us to be here. They're still trying to make that impossible. Trump is doing his very, very best. And people like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are doing their very, very best. There's another trans person's name who's escaping me, who I can't stand. How am I forgetting her name? She's the anti-trans person who stands up for the right wing, basically, and just kind of parrots all their nonsense and talks about how, like, it's body mutilation. Meanwhile, she's had bottom surgery and looks fucking amazing. Like, fuck you, dude. Blair White. So there's just a lot of people pushing agendas for no fucking reason. And for all of the people that transition and made the wrong decision, the medical field failed them. And I think more education is going to help that. There's going to be less people that need to detransition, or that mutilate themselves and make themselves sterile. No one wants that. That is sad. It is super fucking sad. There was a Jubilee episode where there was someone that transitioned and got some different surgeries, and this person's parents were just trying to do the right thing for them. A doctor told them something and they listened to the doctor and their child got screwed. That's sad. It is super fucking sad. I can't imagine going through all of this and finding out a couple years in after surgeries that your doctor recommended you for, that your parents signed off for. Like, I can't imagine what that must feel like to not be able to go back. I feel bad for her, and I think anyone with a heart does. Those numbers are super small, and the medical field failed her. I guess I forget what... I'm a little bit off on that story in particular. I just know that I'm pretty sure that we're just going to call they them. This person I feel bad for. It's sad, but that's not most people that are trans. And yeah, education I think solves that. I think normalizing it is a good thing. And if someone finds out that it's not for them, damn, what's wrong with prolonging puberty by a few years for them to figure it out and make the right decision? So they don't hate themselves. So they don't want to die. So they don't end up taking drugs for years and they can't fucking understand why. Like, I was an accident. I didn't realize I was solving these issues. It just kind of happened. I said, one of my coworkers who is pretty friendly, like we've hung out with him, my wife and I, before a couple times. And I said that to him, and he's like, well, yeah, if you take out the thing that's making you unhappy in life, then you are likely to not want to die and do drugs. Like, duh. And I hadn't really thought of it like that, but that's essentially, like, it's just that simple. So I will heavily advocate that things like fairness, you know, like, that's not fair, human emotions, God and other religious kind of like things, spirituality, all of these things are abstract concepts. We can't reach out and touch them, but kids are having them explained to them all the time, and they get it. These are more complex things to have to like work through and understand, and kids have it just like, they get it just fine. They get it just fine. So hopefully I didn't miss anything. I have a feeling there will be a part 2 to this because I didn't really prep for this very well. It's about to be cuddle 30. I'm going to have a snack and we're going to cuddle and go to bed. So kind of looking forward to that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. Love everybody. Feel free to leave whatever comments and thoughts you guys have. I normally don't push people for comments and shit like that because I'm not trying to boost the algorithm. I kind of don't care. If this channel never gets monetized, like, oh fucking well, it's not really for that. Hopefully it's to help someone not be lonely and have some sort of like relating to someone else, or kind of getting an idea of what to like, what they're going to be going through, hopefully. It's supposed to benefit others, not fill my money or my pockets full of money. If it ends up doing that, great, like whatever. But I am interested to hear people's comments. I would love to make another video based off of what people have to say. You know, love you guys. I will see you later.